Good morning, everybody. We are going to start our webinar now. Good to see that we have such interest, high interest in the webinar. So I'd like to say good morning to all our guests this morning, and to thank you all for taking the time to join us to learn more about the partnership and hopefully to start on your journey to joining this partnership. My name is Sakile Feliciana, and I am the head of the Biodiversity Science Policy and Governance Unit at the Secretariat of the CBD. I also lead the work of the Secretariat on protected and conserved areas, and one of our major areas of focus, as you can imagine, is supporting implementation and achievement of Target 3 of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. I am joined by Brent Mitchell, Vice President of the IUCN World Commission on Protected Areas. IUCN WCPA has been a key partner in the development of this partnership. They've played a key role from the very beginning, and we hope to see that relationship continue. The chair of the WCPA, Madhu Rao, would have liked to be with us, but she could not join us because of her busy schedule. But we are in good hands with Brent. We're also joined by my colleagues from the CBD Secretariat, who have also been key in this work. First, Johanny Martinez, Megan Schmidt, and Mariano Castro. I would just like to let everybody know that we are recording this session, and if that makes you uncomfortable, feel free to log off. The recording will be made available online on the CBD website, and you can catch up that way. We will try to move fast enough so that we have enough time for questions at the end of the presentation. But in the meantime, you can drop any questions that you might have in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we will try to get to those at the end of the session. So having said that, I will not take up much more of your time with these preliminary remarks. I will just go straight into the presentation. Okay, I am sharing my screen now, so how this presentation is set up is that we have various sections. So first, we're just going to give you a background, why the partnership, the history to the partnership, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the outcomes of a meeting that was organized in Cambridge, to talk about the need and then what the framework of the partnership would look like. Then we will talk a little bit about the partnership framework, the structure and coordination, how to join the partnership, and then details on the next meeting. If you were at the meeting in Cambridge or at the side event at SOPSA 25, some of this information will not be new to you, but hopefully it increases your interest in joining the partnership. So, as you know, COP15 adopted the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which includes Target 3, which I won't read at all, but just to really break it down, what it seeks to achieve. So, parties are requested to ensure and enable that by 2030, at least 30% of terrestrial and land water coastal and marine areas are conserved through systems of protected areas in areas that are particularly important for biodiversity and ecosystem functions and services. And these protected area systems and other effective area-based conservation measures should be effectively managed, ecologically representative, and well connected. These systems should also recognize and respect the rights of indigenous people of the local communities, including over their traditional territory. They should be integrated into wider landscapes, seascapes, and the oceans. And any sustainable use that takes place must be fully consistent with conservation outcomes. Now, at COP15, the Conference of Parties, in adopting the framework, stated that the framework is a whole of society and whole of government approach to the conservation, sustainable use, and equitable sharing of benefits from biodiversity. And what this means is that the COP encourages all stakeholders and governments and parties to work jointly to implement the biodiversity framework. And this means cooperation, collaboration, mutual support at all levels. And so this partnership is in the framework of this decision and trying to really join hands to achieve Target 3. This is also noting that Aichi Target 11 was one of the better achieved targets of the strategic plan for biodiversity. And one of the reasons for that success was collaboration and cooperation among different actors. So this partnership, it builds upon the success of previous collaborations, such as the Friends of PAUPA, and PAUPA is a program of work on protected areas of the convention, and also the Global Partnership on Aichi Target 11. So the Friends of PAUPA was an informal collaboration among individuals, NGOs, organizations, and governments. And its purpose was the support for the implementation of the PAUPA. And it included things such as regional training workshops, development of e-learning modules, and supporting parties to develop action plans for the implementation of the PAUPA. The Global Partnership on Aichi Target 11 was formed after the 2014 midterm assessment, which found that there was indeed great progress in implementation of Aichi Target 11, but more progress was needed. And so the Secretariat developed a two-phase strategy to enhance and accelerate support for achievement of Target 11. And one of those things in that strategy was the establishment of a partnership. And that partnership supported many activities, including a stock-taking meeting. And it also worked at regional level and sub-regional level to provide support and to facilitate achievement of Aichi Target 11. So through workshops, webinars, and actual direct technical support to countries in some regions. The partnership also supported the development of a global report on the status and progress for achieving Aichi Target 11, which was produced in 2021, and 196 country dossiers on status of achievement of Aichi Target 11 and all of its elements. And you can see here that the growth in coverage of areas, areas has grown dramatically. And like I said, we credit some of that to a lot of the cooperation and collaboration among different actors to support the establishment of protected and conserved areas. Okay, so I will stop sharing and I will hand over to Brent to take you through the next part of the book.
Well, hi, everybody, and thank you for joining. Hopefully you can see my screen now. So I'm going to talk about some of the planning to date on the partnership. Get it to advance here. Yeah. This really started with a small meeting, informal meeting that we pulled together almost a year ago now at COP15, essentially to ask the question if a partnership like this makes sense, and generally had a positive response to that. And then the framing meeting, organizing meeting that we convened, we had I think close to 80 people from all over the world come together, hosted by the UNEP World Conservation Monitoring Center at the David Attenborough building in Cambridge in the UK, to really look at what this partnership might be about. And I know that some of you on the webinar were there, so this will be a bit of a review for you. Hopefully others of you have read the report, which we'll share a link to in a couple of minutes. These are some of the main outcomes, some of the priorities that were identified by that group. I won't read them, you can read them for yourselves, but a lot about alignment, about a narrative for engagement going forward, a good deal, no surprise really, interest in other effective area-based conservation measures. It's something that it's fairly easy to understand in general concept, quite different in terms of how you should apply it on the ground and in individual countries. So a lot of interest there. A good deal on identifying gaps and trying to fill those gaps, gaps amongst the various elements of the target that Sakile summarized just a moment ago, and really focusing on quality and effectiveness, as opposed to a simplistic area of 30%. And also, interest in financial technical support, and maintaining commitment to this target over time as the job will get tougher as we approach 2030. But really about bringing everyone together who's working on this so that they can share and learn from each other. We did a good deal of polling of the group as we went along. This is a particularly interesting one. Again, coming out on top was further work on OECMs. Second, not ignoring the rest of the 70% of the planet and the other targets. I'll touch on that again in a moment. Learning what other partnerships are doing and avoiding duplication. That came through loud and clear. And mapping and sharing of knowledge, really learning what others are doing and learning from experience, both good and bad. And of course, partnering with Indigenous peoples and local communities, which is emphasized throughout the target and the GBF. And again, the qualitative aspects of the target, you can see the rest there. We've kind of put these in three buckets to help organize: increasing coverage and quality of protected areas and OECMs, all of the pathways to target 3. Again, the strong emphasis on human rights, equity, and governance. And also, again, this maintaining commitment, national policy commitment to area-based conservation. The partnership is called the Target 3 Partnership, but there was very strong interest in not neglecting the rest of the framework. And indeed, at least from the part of the Commission, there's a concern that other targets are not getting as much attention or sufficient attention at this stage. And of course, particular interest in connecting with the other 2 targets that are explicitly area-based conservation. And I won't read these, but highlighted here I'm sure you're all familiar with them, highlighted are the bits that specifically connect to Target 3, effective management, areas of high biodiversity importance, ecosystems of high ecological integrity, the same language on respecting the rights of Indigenous peoples and local communities, and then Target 3 or Target 2 you can see here, and certainly the hope is that over time, Target 2 areas will become Target 3 areas. Really want to look at what does this partnership add over the value of others. It is somewhat unique in having both parties and non-state actors. The idea is to have a big tent. Certainly being recognized by the COP and directly connected to the CBD has advantages, particularly in that third bucket of maintaining commitment over time to the target. And we are connecting with other partnerships and understanding what each brings to the effort so that we avoid duplication with those other partnerships. A little bit on the partnership framework that the group developed. This is a link to the report of the meeting, and I think we will provide to you the link, so if you don't get a chance to grab this QR code. This is what the group agreed. The partnership, I will read this one. The partnership seeks to support parties, other governments, rights holders, and other stakeholders to advance the implementation of actions that would lead to the achievement of the target. In this regard, the partnership acknowledges that this requires alignment, facilitation, and collaboration. Those three words perhaps best summarize what this partnership is about. And of course, the vision is successful and inclusive implementation through the facilitation and collaboration among a very diverse set of actors. These are the hoped for outcomes that the group agreed collectively, and I'll just briefly go through each of those. The importance of Target 3 and pathways to implementation is communicated to various audiences through clear language. If there was a most used word at the meeting, I would say it might be clear and clarity. Really making sure that everyone, and there are a lot of groups and people working on Target 3, that everyone is essentially giving the same interpretations of how Target 3 should be applied. We affirmed the importance of working with Indigenous peoples and local communities as full partners, as well as other non-state actors and all levels of government, subnational level government and that sort of thing, are full partners in rights-based implementation, not just consulted. This was not really elaborated in great detail at the meeting, but it's something that really needs a lot of work in making sure that the practice comes up to the same level as the promise. Knowledge and experience are shared within and outside the partnership. Again, a real hunger in to know what others are doing, sometimes in the same country that groups are working in. Providing access to guidance where it's lacking, developing it where it's necessary, and putting it into forms that are more readily available for on the ground for implementation. And really looking at what are the various activities of the partnerships to encourage alignment, cooperation, and collaboration, and of course, avoid duplication. There's a lot of capacity needs for full implementation. I could point you to some of the estimates of what's needed in terms of trained personnel to manage a third of the planet. So a lot of interest in developing capacity, learning what others are doing for groups that perhaps don't focus on capacity, to know what may be available from other partners in the partnership, that sort of thing. An important outcome on measuring effectiveness and monitoring. Again, we were hosted by the WCMC, and they continue to be an important partner. And looking for ways, if I could summarize, to make sure that the target is truly effective beyond the headline indicator that that's formally accepted. Other ways to make sure that we really are making a positive benefit for biodiversity. And a final outcome on sustainable financing of area-based targets is promoted. That's intuitively obvious. My personal view is this is an area where other partnerships may be doing more, including the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People. This may be an area going forward where we'll want to be careful that we're not duplicating efforts of groups that are better suited for that. And with that, I am turning it back over to Sakile. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Brent. I'm just gonna go back to the presentation. I think it doesn't matter how many times we do Zoom calls and Teams calls. I always find myself frantically searching for the share button and hoping against hope that I'm not sharing inappropriate content. But I think that you guys are seeing the correct slide. So I'm going to talk about right now the structure, how to join the partnership, and a few details about the first official meeting of the partnership. So this partnership will be hosted by the CBD Secretariat. And it's, like I said, we foresee going forward that the WCPA is going to be it's going to play a key role. And now we are hoping that we're going to get other partners playing an equally important role in the functioning of the partnership. We foresee the partnership will work through different working groups, addressing different themes and sub-themes, but these are not set groups. And so depending on what is identified as a key need for a global partnership or global collaboration or even regional and sub-regional collaboration, then those working groups would address those as the need arises. In terms of the partnership, Brent already mentioned different partnerships, alliances, coalitions, and the idea is that this partnership is not coming to supersede them or compete with them, but really to collaborate with them, to work together, to ensure that the sum of the parts is greater than the individual. So we already, for example, at the meeting that was hosted by UNEP WCMC, we had the High Ambition Coalition, we had the Global Ocean Alliance, we had many other organizations that are doing important work there. We had the Secretariat of the Global Environment Facility. So we see ourselves as really a connector and an amplifier. We are thinking that we are proposing that the partnership will function through regional support networks. In the previous iteration of the partnership for Aichi Target 11, there were regional support networks in some region that were coordinated by organizations in the region, such as SPREP and ASEAN. And so we are hoping that we will continue with this modality where we are a global partnership, but we will try to really drop down our mode of operation down to the regional and sub-regional level, where the support to parties and stakeholders and rights holders will be more appropriate or more targeted. We think that this partnership, being a 21st century partnership, can work mostly virtually, but we also do see that there's an opportunity when we have meetings of the Conference of the Parties, the SAPSTA, the SBI, and other UN meetings to meet on the margins of those to progress the work of the partnership. As I mentioned, working groups, we think that working groups will be established as needed, and these will not be permanent working groups. And we, based on the outcomes of the meeting at UNEP WCMC, we see for now 3 potential working groups, one focusing on pathways to achieving 30%, another focusing on the qualitative elements. Because we know that with Aichi Target 11, even though we was very close to meeting it, and in fact, I think now we have exceeded, one of the things was some of the qualitative areas, such as connectivity, and covering areas that are of particular importance to biodiversity. So we feel like we need to strengthen that part of the work. And another very key important part is human rights, equity, and governance. We know that Target 3, unlike Aichi Target 11, actually focuses on indigenous and traditional territories. It focuses on respecting and recognizing the rights of indigenous peoples and local communities. And so we would like to really have a focus on this and to strengthen the work around this. What does it look like in different regions and in different countries, and what are the best practices that we can help parties to implement? Each of the working groups is going to develop its own working plan and what are the most important things to work on. But we see similarities in terms of the actions that these working groups are going to undertake. And so we see that the first of it is to facilitate sharing of experience across geographies and within geographies. And this includes mapping of partner activities, identifying areas where collaboration and cooperation would be desirable, supporting communication and political mobilization, and also most importantly, supporting the development of capacities for implementation and achievement of Target 3. And so I think I saw a question about how to join the partnership. So the partnership, we're hoping for a flexible partnership, and it's open to CBD parties. It's open to organizations that work on and provide support to parties, stakeholders, and rights holders on the implementation and achievement of Target 3 of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and to rights holders and other stakeholders working on Target 3. Membership is open. There's no cutoff date, there's no deadline. And on the 6th of November, we issued a notification inviting organizations and parties and stakeholders to join the partnership and to actively participate in it. I just want to say that our vision of this partnership is that parties to the CBD are automatically members of the partnership, and because they are the main beneficiaries of the partnership. And so we don't see, so there is no need for parties to submit an expression of interest. However, organizations that wish to join the partnership are invited to send an expression of interest. And that is just because we are open to all organizations, but really wanting to focus the efforts of organizations that are working on providing support for this target. So organization wishing to join the partnership can send an expression of interest to the official CBD email, which is secretariat@cbd.int. So the first official meeting of the partnership is planned to take place on the margins of the 6th meeting of the United Nations Environment Assembly in Nairobi in Kenya. And the dates are 23 to 24 February 2024. We will be shortly issuing a notification inviting nominations for that meeting. And with that, I come to the end of the presentation, and thank you all for listening quite attentively. I invite you to raise your hand if you would like to ask a question. In the meantime, I'm just going to go to the Q&A box and see what questions are there. So thank you, Kamal. The third part of that target 3 is recognizing Indigenous lands and territories, recognizing Indigenous and traditional territories is important for IPLCs and in the NBSAPs. How will IPLCs engage in the partnership in the short and long term? So one of the key elements of our meeting in Cambridge was this very point. And as you will remember, when Brent was making the presentation, when he presented the outcomes and the outputs, the second outcome and associated outputs was a full partnership of Indigenous peoples and local communities. We have engaged IIFB in the meeting in Cambridge, and we hope that they will continue to be a key partner going forward. In fact, one of the things that came out of the meeting that was very strongly stated in the meeting in June was that IPLCs wish to take full partnership role. They want to tell us how they want to contribute to target 3, and so that's our approach for the partnership. Is we are really in partnership and listening mode. So I don't know everybody in the chat. So if you ask your question in the chat, please do tell us which organization that you were with. I know Susan Lieberman is with the WCS, World Conservation Society. And her question is, at the Cambridge meeting, participants agreed that this partnership will deliver on targets 1, 2, 3, as they must be fully integrated to deliver marine freshwater and terrestrial area-based conservation. You may wish to address this, but I want to put this on the list. Yes, actually, that is something that's very important. At our meeting in Cambridge, when we were developing the framework of the partnership, a lot of partners were pointed out that you can't achieve target 3 without targets 1 and 2, and also, as Brent mentioned in his presentation, it's not just what happens within protected areas; it's what happens in the other 70% of the landscape. However, when we were putting together the reports of the meeting and trying to see how this would work, we realized that we had the stakeholders for target 3, rights holders, governments, government organizations working on target 3, but we had not invited the stakeholders working on target 1 and those working on target 2. And as you may know, at national level, the people working on target 2 are not always the same people working on target 3. And we felt like we cannot decide for those stakeholders what they want to do and how they want to work. And so we decided that we would keep the focus on target 3, but be cognizant of the fact that target 3 cannot be implemented without targets 1 and 2, and especially also working with the stakeholders that work on targets 1 and 2. And in fact, my colleague Jamal, who leads the Secretariat's work on target 2, we've been in close communication, and they just had a meeting in Rome setting out a roadmap for among partners for achieving target 2. And we made sure that we had someone from our lead, someone from the target 3 partnership at that meeting to really make sure that there was cross-fertilization of ideas and also encouraging synergies between the 2 groups. Bell Torheim, will the CBD facilitate partnerships for other targets as well? For example, target 10. I don't know how to answer. I should have expected that question. We do have a partnership for target 2. And there will be, I think, partnerships for, if not every target, but issues relating to some other targets. So for example, we have a very successful partnership in the CBD that is hosted by the CBD, facilitated by the CBD for sustainable oceans. And that sort of answers a lot of target 10, but also it also answers a lot of the other targets, such as target 3, such as target 11, and will contribute in some instances to target 9. So some of the target partnerships would be target-based, and some of them might be topic-based or theme-based. Johannes, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly.
Sakili, I might jump in on those last 2 points actually too. You know, if you remember in my presentation, there was a lot of conversation about the narrative and people saying the same things, and I think this is a really critical point, that none of the targets should be taken in isolation. Mm-hmm. And so I think if we can all be emphasizing these points, that yes, target 3 cannot be accomplished without effectively implementing target 1, and target 2 and target 3 are very closely related. We had a meeting of the commission recently, and someone said, where's the coalition for target 10? We really need it. So that may not necessarily be a CBD partnership, but it's something that all of us, I think, should get behind and try to see that come together in some fashion in the future. Those are great points.
Okay. Johannes says that it's risky to claim that IG target 11 has been exceeded if only the quantitative elements were close to being reached. Yes, this is the point that Brent was making, and the point that I was making, that we want this partnership to also look at the qualitative elements of the target. So yes, thank you for that point. George, when and how and by whom will the advisory group be established? And what will be its main function? The advisory group right now is something that we're talking about, that we're trying to consider exactly those questions that you ask. The advisory group will not be a decision-making group. It would just really provide, what we see right now is that it would not be a decision-making body. It would really just guide on, you know, what are the main priorities, how to best way to achieve those priorities, and just sort of guide the work, or provide advice on how the partnership can best achieve its objectives. It would be established by the partnership at the first meeting. So more information on that will be upcoming. Odile, good to hear from you, Odile. Odile asks why we need a new partnership when the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People addresses the same issue and it's been working for several months. Thank you, Odile. As you know, the HAC only works with parties, does not work with organizations. And what we see as an important element of this partnership is that it is a partnership of all actors. It's organizations working on this issue, as well as parties, as well as rights holders and stakeholders. And what this partnership seeks to achieve is cooperation and collaboration amongst organizations. So one of the things that we heard very strongly actually at our meeting in June was that a lot of organizations said, well, we're going to be working on these issues anyway. We're going to be working on OECMs. We're going to be working on supporting Indigenous peoples and local communities. So what is the work of the partnership? The work of the partnership is to ensure that organizations that are working already in particular geographies or in particular themes can actually find a place to come together, to work together, to sort of avoid duplication and to enhance their cooperation and collaboration and enhance outcomes. Sivaja Nair, sorry, I hope I pronounced your name properly. IIFB represents Indigenous peoples. They don't represent the concerns of local communities like small-scale and artisanal fishers. Thank you for that question. Yes, like I said, we are open to the participation of organizations that work on support 2, that work on target 3 and support 2 target 3. Anna, good to hear from you, Anna. Is there a form to submit the interest, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I've been talking. Do you mind taking over, Brent? I need a break.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Thanks.
And I might return to a couple of the points just recently here in terms of, why do we need a new partnership when the High Ambition Coalition has been working on this? Absolutely, and that's been a consistent question, and I think Sakila answered it well. That this is a bigger tent. My own view is there's so much work to be done in a very short time that we really can't have too many efforts working, that they just have to be coordinated. And the commission meets with the HAC almost weekly, with other partnerships as well to avoid duplication. But each has a niche that is very important. And in terms of yes, there are more groups concerned with traditional territories, Indigenous and traditional territories. There are other groups that are and will be involved with the partnership, the ICCA consortium, to name just one. So that's a good point, but one very, very aware of. In terms of a form to submit the expression of interest, I'm not the best to reply to that, but I don't think so. Just have a look at the notification. I think it's merely a letter that is being asked to be sent to the main email address, secretariat at Megan. Maybe you could put that again, or I think you put in the notification link. So just refer to that notification. That'll tell you what's required. Can any of the speakers say anything more on the top priority, if it was ranking, which is further work on OECMs? what kind of work would this be? It's an area we are keen to play a role in supporting, from Anand Punja from the Forest Stewardship Council. Yeah, OECMs are continuing to be an important component of Target 3. In many countries, the expansion, if you will, of coverage will come through OECMs. I do want to say that protected areas should continue to play an important role, as well as indigenous and traditional territories, which in some countries may be expressed as protected areas or OECMs, or in other countries, perhaps something a little different depending on the context. As I mentioned in the presentation, OECMs is a concept that's pretty easy to grasp as a concept, but actually figuring out and documenting actual outcomes, positive outcomes for nature is more challenging. So we continue to strive to make sure that we don't count places that have little or no actual bearing or benefit in terms of reversing the curve in the loss of biodiversity. So that's being expressed in a lot of ways, and importantly, right at the moment, need to help countries include OECMs and the target in their MBSAPs, in their National Biodiversity Strategic Action Plans. From Sue Wells, I'm representing WCPA Marine at the Cambridge meeting. The point was made a couple of times that in the earlier partnership activities, marine issues had been underrepresented. I'm not clear how the final membership of each working group will be selected, but is there some assurance that marine will be better covered this time? I think it's a very valid point, Sue. I'm probably as guilty as of terrestrial bias as anyone, but I think the commitment is there. Again, I can't speak for the Secretariat, but we do want to make sure that not only marine, but also freshwater, inland waters are equally represented and covered as they are in the target. And Sakile, jump in anytime if you want to. Are we doing on time? A few more minutes.
Just the one about making sure that marine is the working group. So I think maybe I didn't make it clear, but working groups would also be open to whichever organization is working in that area. So there won't be a set list or a closed set of partners working on that working group. It really is like whatever organization is working in that issue or on that issue or in that geography would be open. And we certainly hope that we will get a lot of partners working on the marine and inland waters ecosystems as partners. So we can only do as much as partners that are willing to join. And I invite you to actually forward the notification to colleagues that work on Target 3, Target 1, Target 2, Target 10 related issues that might be willing to join the partnership. Thanks.
And from Wartane Puvanaraja, I hope I've come close to pronouncing your name correctly. How will the partnership be funded and financed? Will it provide technical and financial assistance to stakeholders? And then a second part, how does it relate to MBSAP Accelerator Partnership, also supporting partners in delivering the GBF targets? This is again a place where I can't speak for the Secretariat, but this is a partnership in terms of people coming together. I don't think there's going to be a lot of funding either available or required in terms of getting people together. providing opportunities to communicate. And I know there's no dedicated stream to help partners do their work that would come through the partnership itself. It would be other existing avenues. Sakila, can you speak to that or the accelerated partnership one?
Yes, so it is our stated intent to work closely with other partnerships, alliances, networks, coalitions. And in fact, we have 2 colleagues in the CBD Secretariat that are involved, that are leading the work on the NBCEP Accelerator Partnership, and we are already discussing with them, and we'll be having further discussions with their teams. So there is going to be strong collaboration.
And I can also mention that the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People has developed a matchmaking systems on both financing and technical assistance, which will hopefully be a service to parties in implementing the target. Yeah, go ahead, Sakila.
I just wanted to say, we should just say that we will be closing the Q&A box soon, just so that we can finish on time.
Oh yeah.
Thanks.
Maybe just one last one here from Yelena Feingold from FAO, working on the Target 2 partnership. How can we work together to give clear guidance to parties on the overlap between area-based targets, particularly 2, 3, and 10, facilitate reporting and the identification of overlap between the areas under restoration, conservation, and protective landscapes? I think that's a great question. Again, clarity and narrative were threads that went through the conversations at the partnership meeting. And so my response would be simply, that's something that we hope the partnership will help advance in terms of providing that guidance. I hope that answers sufficiently. But yeah, it's a good question, and one that we all probably need to continue to work on. So few other questions here, but we'll try to answer those in the Q&A box as we close out, Sakila.
Thanks. I might just, because Renata's question is not really a question, engagement of subnational governments. Yes, we are aware, and we did have participants from the subnational level in June in our workshop. Vivienne. So how do we intend to work to make sure that information and training materials on human rights, equity and governance are developed and shared? So this is one of the things that the working group itself will have to decide. And Jason from the HAC, I think, Jason, if you can just take the mic for a little bit to explain the work of the HAC. My understanding is that membership of the HAC is only limited to members, to countries, to governments. And that's what we see as a difference. The membership is open to all. But like I said, we are not trying to compete, and we're not trying to oust or do better or be better. But yeah, Jason, if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about the HAC and what you see, how you see the HAC can work with the partnership.
For sure. Thank you so much, Sakila, for the opportunity to take the floor. Yes, just a quick a compliment on what has been said on the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People. So as you were mentioning, it's a government-led initiative. So you are very right by saying that membership is only restricted to governments. However, since the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People is tackling post-COP15 the implementation of Target 3, we have been engaging with a lot of different partners, supporters, NGOs, from the civil society, governments, institutions, in order to collectively move forward and implement Target 3. Brent mentioned the different tools that the hack is currently developing. And maybe it's worth saying that the matchmaking tool that the hack is currently developing, with the aim of making sure that all the countries are able to provide their request, and that the Secretariat matchmake them with specific technical and financial offers. This specific platform is open to technical assistance providers, so institutions, NGOs, and others. Just a quick clarification from our point of view. And once again, we're very supportive of avoiding duplication of work, and we remain super involved, and will be definitely at the first meeting in UNEA that you mentioned earlier.
Thank you, Jason. And yes, like we have had several conversations with the HAC Secretariat over the past year, in the context of the Target 3 partnership and other work relating to Target 3. And so we really do see our efforts as complementary. And yeah, it's an ambitious target that parties have set for themselves. And it requires as much ambition in terms of support. So.
And I just, Sakila, just to point out, I just dropped into the chat the link to the third tool that we've been working on with the hack and TNC and others, which is links to guidance on implementing Target 3, which in contrast is wide open to anyone to access. And it's not completely built out yet, but the link is there for anyone who wants to go there.
Thank you, Brent. So we have come to the end of our presentation. Just to thank everyone for being present, and hoping that we will receive a lot of expressions of interest to support parties and rights holders and stakeholders, and that we will see a lot of you in Nairobi in February. So from me and the team that is currently on the screen, thank you, and have a good day and a good evening wherever you are in the world.